everybody. My name is Ambika, and in today's lecture, I'm going to give you certain tips when it comes to article writing and speech writing. Now, before discussing anything about our topic, I want to tell you a bit about Unacademy. So, on this particular app, you can enroll yourself if you are actually aspirant enough to get into academic fields. If you want to really score well, if you have those desires that I want to have that X factor when it comes to studying something, so hearing you are on the you are I mean you will be going to be on the best platform of the nation. Why? Because on this particular app you will be mentored by nation's top best educators. You heard me right, guys. Literally, like nation's best top educators. You name a subject and they have it here. You name any of the topics and they know in depth, in detail, each one of it. So please, guys, enroll yourself. And for that, you can use my code AMBIKA, which is in caps. I repeat, it is AMBIKA, and enroll yourself. So go for it and let's crack the CBSE's most wanted and important topic, article writing. So what is an article and why do we need it? So when it comes to writing skills, which is like part B of your exam paper, you have got article writing, letter writing, speech writing, and that is simply a way to check out your creativity, right? So herein, that is what I'm going to help you with all, right? So an article is a piece of writing written for a larger audience. It is not like a letter, which is like, a conversation or maybe a feeling filled with, all sort of emotions. Rather, article is somebody which can be, which is basically for the larger audience. The main motive behind writing an article is that it should be published in either newspapers or magazines or journals so as to make some difference to the world. So you're putting across your own thoughts to the larger audience just because you want to make a difference in everybody's mindset, right? So what is the concept of article? That we are writing something with the objective in the mind that we are trying to create a difference. We are trying to give a food of thought for everybody out there. Now, this is simply a tabular presentation how you can be marked on the basis of the content which you have written for both article writing and speech writing. So for heading and writer's name, there needs to be a heading like a title of the article, right? So for that and for a writer's name that is called as byline also, you will going to get 1 mark. Next we have content. Next we have content, like whatever you have written. So you for that you will going to get 4 marks. Next, the subcategory for expressions are grammatical accuracy, appropriate words and spellings. Yes, my dear friends, you need to have a good grammar, you need to have a good vocab, and you need to have a command over your spellings when it comes to writing something. You must agree with me, right? So for that, those 5 marks are further divided into 2.5. That is for grammatical accuracy, appropriate words and spelling. And the next is coherence and relevance of ideas and style. So how each of the thoughts are closely related with each other. Are they closely knitted with each other? Right? Do we have any connection or is it something which is written in a haphazard manner? Right? So everything needs to, like every thought needs to have connectivity with the other thought. Right? So for that you will going to get 2.5 marks, which in all makes 5. So in calculation in totality, that will be of 10 marks. One for writing your name, that is the byline and the heading. Next is for the content. After that, the 5 marks is for grammatical accuracy, appropriate words and spelling. And next is coherence and relevance of ideas and style. Right now, in order to write a perfect article, we must be well acquainted with the topic and must possess a wide range of vocabulary. So, I mean, that is something which we all need to do. Whatever topic you are writing, whatever topic you have got on which you are supposed to write in your exam, you should have a knowledge about it. In our CBSE, they generally give certain, those type of questions which are very well, I'm sorry, which are very well acquainted to all of us, right? So nothing new. I mean, we know about it already. Maybe we have read about it in our social studies books, or we have come across those topics while watching TV or while reading a newspaper, any sort of such things, right? So you will going to have a great command over what are you trying to write. You need to have a prior knowledge about it, right? And for that, you also need to have a good vocabulary, a thorough knowledge of the subject. Research needs to be done, right? So you need to have a very, you need to go, you need to do certain, there needs to be a proper research, I should say, so that your article will be right there. Whatever thoughts you have, they have got the perfect word, and the research is mandatory for any sort of piece of writing, right? And excellent organizational skills. So it should not be something like, you have given a conclusion in the beginning and then you are coming up with all the problems. No, guys. There needs to be a proper organization between all the thoughts which you are putting out there. All right. Next is, what are the objectives of article? Like, why do we write it? Why do we actually need to write it? See, it brings out the topics or the matter of interest in the limelight. Whatever happens in the nation, like if you want the wider audience which should read it, so for that, you need to write an article in a very impressive tone, language, right? So the objective of article is that you are bringing out maybe any of the topics, but to the larger audience, the masses, right? The article provides information on the topic and the article. For example, I have no knowledge about technology. So what do I do? Generally, I pick out the articles on Google and read them. I read them out so that whatever knowledge I lack, I can read about those things in those articles. So they provide the appropriate information, right? It offers suggestions and pieces of advice, and it does offer you certain suggestions and piece of advice also, like how you should do it. The do's and don'ts are also part of article writing. It influences the readers and urges them to think. Whatever is happening in the nation right now, like Riya Chakravarti's case or Kangna's, her office being demolished, or certain situations like the GDP is falling. There are so many, happenings. There's so many events which are taking place in the nation right now. So your article should be something which should shake up the audience to the core, right? It should have certain some content with it that it influences the reader to think about it, to ponder on it, right? The article discusses various stories, persons, locations, rising issues, and technical developments. So the topic can be any of the persons, like any of the story, life story of somebody, talking about any of the locations, rising issues, any technical developments which has been taken place, like whatever. So the topics are various, they are varied in number, and you can pick any. Now let's check out the format of our article. So I have divided that into four parts. Part one will be simply a heading, right? Part two will talk about the byline. Byline simply means who has written this article, right? Part three talks about the body, the whole content, and in the part four, which will be, let's just say, the fourth paragraph, or maybe like whatever paragraph you have come to. So in that, there needs to be certain conclusion, like you are ending up with a very valuable point. All right. Now, first is heading. So the heading should be catchy and not more than 5 to 6 words. I repeat, it should not be way too, like there should not be so many words in it. This is supposed to be short, precise, and concise, right? You can go as creative as you want. With this one, just make sure that you do not devote too much time on it while writing up your exams. So while taking up the exam, you don't need to, like, sit and think a lot that what title should I give to my article. No, that is not the right time to think about it, right? So whatever, I mean, I'm not simply asking you to write anything, but then, with pencil, maybe you can write in your answer sheet a promising proverb, maybe a promising few words which you are getting, which you think you can consider. right? So you can, for a time being, write those with pencil somewhere, and then when you are done, when you're so sure, when you're so confirmed that now I can use it, pen it out. Make sure your heading doesn't have any spelling mistakes or grammar errors. So make sure that you are not making any grammatical errors. Along with that, no spelling mistakes, although there shouldn't be any spelling or grammatical errors, but specifically try to skip that out when it comes to writing up the heading, right? Because that is the first impression which you are putting across in the mind of the reader, okay? The one who is checking up your exam sheets, right? Don't use unnecessary punctuation marks in the heading, because as you all know, heading is of 1 mark. It's easy to get that 1 mark, right? Next is part 2, byline. So byline is nothing but the name of the person who is writing the article. So what do we mean by the term byline? It is somebody who has written up the article, right? The name of the person will be generally given in the question paper itself. So the name, if it is being given there in the question itself, you can use the name. If not, then you can invent your own name also. Not a problem. All right. Now, part 3 is the most important one. That is the body of your article. The body is the main part of article writing, which carries more weightage of marks. Generally, the body of the article consists of, let's just say, 3 to 4 paragraphs. I'll tell you like how you can divide those 3 to 4 paragraphs for article writing, right? So the body, as I've already told you, it will going to be of 4 marks. So please, you have to be very certain when it comes to writing anything in the body of the article, right? Now, paragraph 1. So paragraph 1 is basically a simple introductory paragraph about your article, like a basic introduction of what are you going to talk about. Now, it should be accurate, precisely explain what the article is talking about. You need to give this hint to the reader, to the audience. I should rather say reader, that this is something. This is what is the agenda of your article. So the agenda should be clear in initial first few lines of the article. So we can say first paragraph, right? Try giving some quotations of frightful facts to excite the interest of the readers. And this can be done if you read the newspaper regularly, if you listen to the news channels regularly, and if you read out articles, then only you can get those facts, those ideas how you can begin up with your topic, right? And you need to keep your language simple. If you're going to use a lot of flowery language, maybe you'll get confused. Maybe the idea what you are trying to portray to the reader will not will not be understood by him. So let's keep the language simple here. Now, paragraph 2 and 3, it must come with complete analysis of the subject. As I have already told you that in paragraph 1, we are simply talking about the introduction, like what the article will be all about. Now, 2 and 3 will be the detailed analysis of the subject, right? And what are we supposed to consider? What are we supposed to write when we are talking about second and third paragraph? Here, the writer must analyze and explain what are the different types of problems that are existing. So, if, for example, you are writing about any of the present scenarios problem, like let's just say how media, what do you think about today's like present times media, right? So you need to write the existing problem, like how they are portraying people, how they are skipping out the important information, how they are molding up the information, right? How they are creating their own stories behind any of the scenes, right? So you need to write all of it in paragraph second and third. That is the problem. All right. Now, for example, current scenario. So here the writer must explain the current situation of the problem. When I've just given you an example of the media, right? So you need to write like in the present scenario how media is treating people, how media is taking up the news, how they are interrogating others, how they are trying to be the judiciary of the nation, right? So you need to consider the topic, you need to think, you need to ponder upon the topic considering the present scenario. Now, what are the actions taken to correct them by the concerned authorities? And you can also give certain suggestions. right? Like who are the concerned authorities who need to keep a check on how they are performing, right? So these ideas can be put there in this paragraph itself. Now they may include advantages and disadvantages also. So you have, it is, the article is simply not about, writing everything in a very negative light. You need to give both the ideas, both the sides of the same coin, right? It is simply not about like writing simply the disadvantages. No, we have to kind of write both the advantages and disadvantages of the scenario. Now, cause and effect relationship. Develop the cause and effect relationship by supporting it with facts, findings, or data. Now, you need to have certain facts in your mind while writing up any of the articles. Okay, let's just skip out the whole idea of writing up for the exam. But whenever in general life also, if you're writing up an article for, let's just say, you know, for any of your own school magazine, so you need to read, you need to have a thorough reading of the topic beforehand, and then you can start writing. Pick out all the facts, all the findings, keep them aside, pick out the stats, and then substantiate those points vigorously, clearly in your own content, right? Now, paragraph 3 and 4 is commonly known as the conclusion paragraph. So now, whatever paragraph 1 was all about introduction, 2 and 3 was simply talking about the advantages or disadvantages, the real problem behind this whole scenario, like whatever. Whatever you need to keep there, the whatever is right there in your mind, considering the relevance of the topic, you need to write that in second paragraph. Now, paragraph 3 and 4 will simply going to talk about the conclusion. Now, in these two paragraphs, you need to conclude your whole article. It is important to conclude the article what you have started. Never leave an article open ended. So this is not the text, this is not the fiction where you are keeping the, keeping the audience, sorry, keeping the readers in, leaving them thinking on their own. Like you have to give a proper end to your article. The conclusion paragraph should speak about the problems raised and what are actions taken for the betterment of the problem. So you need to consider, right, like what options can be taken. You need to write it out, like how organizations can work upon it, right? So you are simply concluding by giving up your own ideas and on your own, right? So it is supposed to be again simple and precise. Now, herein I have jotted down certain important points which you need to consider, which you need to keep in mind while writing up the article, right? Always keep a few general quotes in mind, like before taking up the exam, before writing up any of the articles, there needs to be certain quotes in your mind. Like, so start jotting down, start writing down certain quote, somewhere, so that whenever if anything comes up with the same relevance with the code, you can use it. So try memorizing, try keeping in memory, deep inside your memory, certain codes, right, which you can use while writing up anything. Avoid repetition of ideas. It is something, you should avoid. It is not something like you have written something in paragraph 1 and you're repeating again in paragraph 2. No, keep it simple and try to avoid any sort of repetition. Now, you have got the liberty here to, I mean, not in the whole article itself, but at least in few of the places you can actually give your own personal opinion, right? Now, it is very important that you do not deviate from the topic. I mean, it used to happen with me when I start writing, I simply get deviated. Like, new thoughts start popping up into my mind and I simply lose the track. Like, where was I? What I was speaking, what I was writing. Right? So you don't need to deviate from the topic again when it comes to writing the articles for the exam. There are chances you might get ideas linking from one to another that may deviate you from the main point. So we don't need to be deviated. We have got 3 hours in our hand. In that, you have to divide equal hours for each of the topics. So don't dive deep into the topic, because in the exam we don't have that much of time, right? Make small sentences. And why it is important? Because in small sentences, at least there will be less grammatical errors. right? Because there will be less grammatical errors and they will definitely going to help you in getting more marks, right? So avoid, refrain yourself in using long sentences. Make sure you double check for grammar accuracy and spellings. They carry marks. As I have already told you that when it comes to getting marks, we do have marks for spellings and vocabulary and grammar. So at least don't lose your marks there, right? Read editorials in a few newspapers and notice the pattern. This is the best trick which you all can follow, right? You have to read the articles which are being published in the newspapers, right? You need to read out those editorials, and with that you will come to know like how exactly we can write our article. Most important thing is underline your value points. Think that is the most important point of your article, right? Which can actually enhance, which can actually which is really important for your article, which is the X factor of your article, a new thought which you have provided there, a new idea maybe. You need to underline that. All right. Now I have jotted down certain do's and don'ts which you literally have to follow while writing the article. Now, we do have to write the writer's name. We do have to do it. Like, we genuinely have to do it. And avoid writing those lengthy articles because it is about exams, guys. We simply can't take a risk. We can't, sit there all the day and, writing simply an article. No. So the article needs to be, if it is written like 150 to 200 words, stick to the word limit. Don't exceed it because if you're going to exceed the word limit, then you're going to lose your marks. All right. The heading of the article should be short, clear, and informative. The heading is the most important part of any of the articles because that is something which somebody reads for the very first time, right? So this needs to be catchy, right? This needs to be catchy and try to use certain, quotes for it. Now, again, there is no need to write lengthy titles. Avoid doing that because while if you're going to write anything lengthy, you tend to make grammatical errors, spelling errors, vocabulary errors. You never know, and why to lose our marks, right? Target the audience. You need to keep this thing in mind, like who is reading it, for whom you are writing. If you are clear, if you're sorted this way, you can actually write a great article. Because if you know who is your targeted audience, you know what kind of language they would like to hear, right? How they can be molded. For all these scenarios, you need to keep this thing in mind for whom you are writing. Only the introduction and the conclusion should be attractive and attention seeker. No, guys, this is really something which we all do, but this is something which we should not do. All like throughout the article, throughout the piece of writing, you have to have a very attractive, content. You can't compromise when it comes to writing up the article, the content. The language and the style of writing should be according to the concerning readers. Like I've already told you, you need to keep the audience, your target audience in mind for whom you are writing. One can advise, suggest, and give the solutions to a problem in any paragraph other than the starting one. As I have told you, there needs to be a linear pattern. There's supposed to be a proper pattern which you need to follow. That in paragraph 1, you need to give a simple introduction about your article. 2 and 3 will talk about the problems. Third and fourth, or maybe conclusion, will going to talk about how we can deal with it, right? So how we are supposed to do it? There's supposed to be a linear pattern. Have to follow this pattern. Use proper punctuation, right? And there must be only three paragraphs in an article, that is introduction, middle one, and conclusion. No, guys, you can add up 3 to 4 paragraphs, considering, keeping in mind that we have got a word limit also. Point is, we are not supposed to skip that word limit. Now, use any tense, person, voice, as many abbreviations and self-made words while writing an article. We simply can't do that. We are simply talking to an audience. We have got the target in front of us. Maybe they are not very much well accustomed with our own language, like with our own abbreviations, with our new style of words. So don't do that. At least not in exams. All right. Now, few tips. Plan before you pen. So whatever you are trying to write, whatever, plan it. Use maybe the if because we are not allowed to write in our question papers, but use your answer sheet. Use a pencil for that and start jotting down few points. It is important that you follow a sequence. Again, there is supposed to be a linear format. Jot down the points at the back of your answer sheet and ensure a proper sequence of ideas, right? It is possible that you have too many points or very few points. So, it is better whatever is coming up, you jot them down, and while writing the final content, you can pick things from there. You can pick your points from there. All right. Most important is always begin with your strongest point. Yes, that is like for sure you have to do. Whatever you are writing, your content will be read. Like in the beginning, whatever impression you are trying to put, it is supposed to be the positive one, right? So always write the positive, the strongest point of your own article in the beginning. If you are losing track, like how should I go ahead, you can jot down certain weaker points, but then again you need to conclude with the strongest point, because you need to give a food for thought to the people, to the reader, right? So please follow this: strong, weak, strong. Although there's supposed to be no weak at all, but then if it is like if you are unable to come across any of the new ways, or if you're out of words, then it is allowed, right? So in the beginning itself, we are supposed to give strong quotes, comments, right? And in the end, at the end also, right? You have to strictly follow the prescribed word limit in restricted time frame. So just not to go on writing and writing it when it comes to when it comes to English exams, right? The question papers are huge, like there are so many questions. So don't dive deep into the topic and you are enjoying writing. That is not the right place to do it, not while giving up the exam, right? So while writing, you need to keep the word limit in mind, right? And stick to the topic. Don't move here and there with your own ideas. No, that is not the right place to think about any other thing. All right? Feel free to give your personal opinions only in couple of lines. Article, you are allowed to give your own opinions, let's just say for like, in certain lines, but it is supposed to be very objective. Article is not subjective at all. Objective means it is a very, it is a platform, it is simply a piece of writing when you're writing things in general. I'll tell you how you can go subjective, but that is allowed in speech writing. Right now, we are simply discussing article writing. It is very important that you do not deviate from the topic. There are chances you may get ideas linking from one to another that may deviate you from the main point. So strictly refrain yourself and don't do it. And the most important tip for all of you is that avoid repetition. For example, you have written something in the first paragraph, then don't try to be, don't revolve around it all the time, right? Avoid simple repetitions of the ideas. Getting my point? You have to avoid the repetition. As I have already told you, you need to underline your value points, your important points, right? Don't skip them. Because you think that this is the X factor, this is the important part of your article, then do underline it. All right. Make sure you double check for grammatical accuracy, spellings, and as we all know that they do carry marks, right? So don't simply, don't make silly mistakes when it comes to spellings or with grammar, right? You always, as I've already told you about this also, that you need to keep certain quotes in your mind. And the best way how we can do it, like, in a piece of paper, in a diary, maybe you can write few quotes, few general quotes, which you can apply here and there, right? So this is the best way how you can, keep your quotes in your mind all the time and you can use them wherever it is being required, right? Best. And the other important thing is that the newspaper, check out the news channels, right, and listen to them carefully, because sometimes it does happen that few points get stuck into our mind forever, and they're still there, right? It happens with all of us, I believe. So listen to them carefully, read out the newspaper, and you will come to know how editors, how anybody else write up the articles. That is a simple, great way which you all can also follow, right? So, and again, grammar does carry marks. Vocabulary, we're going to keep a good track of each and every word. So work on it. Now, here I have got one sample for you. This was the question which we got uh, from CBSE 2018-2019 question paper. The question was, by 2050, India will be amongst the countries which will face acute water shortage. You are highly alarmed and terrified of the future world without water. So, write an article on Save Water. Are we doing enough for the local daily in 150 to 200 words? So, this was the question which was there in the question paper of 2018-2019, right? And it is already being mentioned the word limit, so we need to stick to that. All right, please keep in mind the word limit. And another important thing I forgot to tell you is that certain questions you already have got the the title, so we're going to use the same. All right, now, save water. Are we doing enough? That was already there in the question also. So we have picked the same. Next is supposed to be the byline. So because it was not mentioned who is writing it, so simply you can write by, let's just say Ambika. So it can be by hyphen. Hyphen means a small dash. Okay. So by hyphen Ambika. Now, what is the objective of paragraph 1? That it will simply going to put up an introduction, that what are you going to talk about in the article. Many people are living with less water than they need, whether in the world's most prosperous cities or in its bountiful agricultural heartlands. Droughts have also become more frequent, more severe, and affecting more people around the world. As many as 4 billion people. Here, if you're going to check out, there are certain facts. As many as 4 billion people already live in regions that experience severe water stress for at least 1 month of the year. With populations rising, these stresses will only mount. If you have checked out, there was no such vocabulary word which we have not read ever in our lives, right? So you need to keep your vocabulary simple, because that is the agenda of article, that you want to reach the masses. Now, paragraph 2, water is the precious gift of God on earth. Life exists on earth because of the availability of water. Itself being tasteless, odorless, and colorless, it adds taste, color, and nice smell in the life of living beings on the earth. Right? So you are simply telling up the quality of water. Now, paragraph 3. Here are different methods we can follow to save clean drinking water. Now, this is your way. This is simply how you are simply suggesting that how we can save it. Here are different methods we can follow to save clean drinking water and deal with the water scarcity. Rainwater harvesting is one of the most effective and suitable method among save water techniques, right? Now, you are concluding. That was because, as you already know, the word limit was a 150 to 200 words. Now it's time to conclude. Afforestation is also a good method as it reduces surface runoff and recharges the groundwater. It promotes underground water conservation. By practicing such methods, we can conserve more water naturally and ensure the availability of it for future generations. We should take a pledge and make it a lifelong motto to preserve water, because if you conserve water, it means you conserve life. Right. So how did we do it? Because we didn't use any of the quotes in the beginning itself, ended our article with the quote at the end. Now, here we have got another sample. The question was from CBSE 2017 question paper. Our performance in the Rio Olympics has told us that we do not pay enough attention to athletics and outdoor games. It is time we revised our attitude. Sports should be an important part of school's daily routine. Write an article in 150 to 200 words in importance of outdoor games. Now here we have got a name that is Shrija or Thomas, right? So you can use the name for your byline. They have already got the heading also, so we don't need to worry about it. So the heading was importance of outdoor games. So we can copy the same there, and byline is by Shrija or Thomas, whatever. Okay. Sports occupy a prominent place in the life of a nation. It not only helps to keep you healthy and fit, but also plays an important part as a recreational event. Unfortunately, in our country, the trend is such that it focuses only on the academic front. To grow a tree, we have to water its roots. Just like that, to prepare athletes that could play for the country, we need to inculcate the concept of sports at the primary level, that is, the school level. What we are missing out is that sports play a vital role in imparting complete education. Now, here comes the next paragraph, right? Clearly, things did not go well in the Rio Olympics. So, in the initial paragraph, you simply told us that you're writing about sports. Now, you are coming to the point that herein you are picking up Rio Olympics. Okay. Clearly, things did not go well in the Rio Olympics. And as everyone gets down to doing the post mortem of our performances, often breathless, blame the quality of attention being given to athletics. The benefits of playing sports are several, as it leads to balanced mental growth. It teaches the children life skills like team effort, leadership, patience, and social skills. It inculcates confidence, discipline, and playing without crossing the rules. Thus, it becomes all the more important to change the attitude of schools towards sports. It should be made a compulsory activity. It has been rightly said. Children learn as they play. Most importantly, in play, they learn how to learn. Right. So herein, as in the first sample, also we didn't begin with the slogan or with any of the quotes, but we ended with it. Right. So that as I've already told you, the beginning needs to be strong. Then few points here and there can work, but the ending again needs to be strong. So strong, weak, strong. That was all about article writing. Next is speech writing. Now, a good speech is well structured. In fact, it is just not about good, simply speech. It is all about writing any piece of content needs to have a structure followed, right? A well defined introduction, a well developed middle, and a conclusion. There needs to be a proper intro, a middle, and a conclusion, like how it goes with all piece of writing, right? Nothing new about it though. But the different thing about speech writing is that it can go in a very conversational tone, right? The tone can be conversational here, as if you are talking to the other person, as if you're talking to the masses, as if you're talking to the audience, right? So that is the objective, that is the agenda of writing a speech. Simply means that you are speaking about the topic, right, on your own behalf. That is as I was telling you about subjective and objective in speech, it is completely your own thought. It is totally subjective in its format. Okay. There is ample usage of personal pronouns like I, we, you, etc. But we cannot do the same when it comes to article writing. I mean, you simply can't say that, I can stop using water, or I'll try to, reduce the amount of water which I'm intaking. We simply can't do that. But in speech, you can use pronouns, and that too personal pronouns, right? And phrases like you will agree that, I hope you get it a thought, or you see, etc. And herein also you can ask certain rhetorical questions, like, thought provoking questions. Don't you agree with me? What do you think on this? Right? Have you ever thought of, may I ask you one question? right? So these are the rhetorical questions which you can portray, which will make the audience think, which will make the audience ponder, like how should they, how should they react to it. Such ways make the audience interested, and this way they are attracted to the content of the speech. Why are we simply doing it? Because you are trying to involve the audience in your own content. They, this way they simply think, okay, that we are also part of somebody's speech, right? These, they feel, I mean, they start giving a thought to it. All right. The chief argument should be substantiated with the help of proper facts and figures. So there needs to be, with any piece of writing, you need to keep proper facts and figures with you handy, right? Valid points with required data should be kept across. The speech should end on the forceful note. You need to end like any other piece of writing. There needs to be a proper forceful note when it comes to speech also. A strong point needs to be there. It should move the audience to ponder upon the topic, and they should accept the particular line of thought or to follow the particular line of action. Now, how we can build up a speech? Start with a direct address to the audience. Like, begin with like, hi everybody, good morning, good afternoon, respected jury members, respected chairperson, principal, teachers, friends. Today I will speak upon whatever the topic is. A good morning to this August gathering. A hearty welcome to the audience who have gathered here. So you can begin your speech whichever way is comfortable with you, considering that you have to address the audience. That is the simple point which we need to keep in mind while writing up a speech, because it is supposed to be conversational. You are there addressing the audience. But we are not doing the same when it comes to article writing. Herein, we do not say that good morning, everybody, good morning, respected chairperson, principal, teachers. We're not doing that. We are supposed to follow this rule when it comes to speech writing. You may begin with your speech with an anecdote. Anecdote means your own life experience, a short story, an interesting fact, a suitable quote by a well known writer. So, whichever way you are comfortable, you can begin with your speech, or simply a thought provoking question. Now, build up the speech with the powerful supportive arguments. Like, the speech needs to be very powerful. There needs to be facts, there needs to be, solid arguments. Like what you are trying to say, you need to have proper, proper facts, findings with you, right? Sum up the speech with the most powerful points. Again, beginning and ending needs to be strong. Now, herein, I've got one sample for you. Here it's a question, okay? Nowadays, just about everyone allows a cell phone, but most of the users do not follow even the basic rules of cell phone conduct. They are seen speaking loudly, taking a phone call in the middle of a meeting, or even at a funeral, etc. Write a speech in 150 to 200 words to be delivered in the assembly of your school to appraise. Appraise means simply telling, right? You are giving up your points. The fellow students of this about the telephone etiquette. Now, here on we have got how we are supposed to do it. How are you going to begin with it? Just check it out. Nowadays, almost everyone owns a mobile phone, but many users have no knowledge of the basic rules of cell phone conduct. Conduct here means rules and regulations. Alright. Good morning, everyone. I, whatever is your name, have come before you all to apprise you of cell phone etiquette. It is actually necessary to follow a few guidelines regarding the use of cell phones. Your cell phone does not have to go everywhere you go. There are times when you should never answer your cell phone, especially in places of worship and funeral homes. At the very best, they should be on the vibrate mode in these places. Use your quiet inside voice and do not yell at into your cell phone, right? Be courteous to others. Write off not being disturbed by your megaphone range voice. In social situations where you are entertaining friends or clients, do not have long cell phone conversations as it gives the impression that you do not value the time and presence of the person in front of you. If your phone rings while you are driving, wait till you have pulled over before you answer or return the call. Your life and the life of the people around you is of much more value than any of your phone calls. Be a responsible. Definitely, I am going to help you, Kishu Yadav. Please stay connected, stay tuned in, and yes, for sure. Be a responsible cell phone user. Be aware of your surroundings before making or receiving a call, and have respect for those around you. This will help others to appreciate your good judgment and consideration. Thank you. Right, so that was simply your own idea, your own view. That is simply a subjective outlook. All right, now there are certain value points which you need to keep in mind while writing up the speech. Greet your audience. You simply can't go up and you simply can't begin by just start speaking. No, you need to greet your audience. You need to introduce the topic upon which you're supposed to. The introduction part of the speech is the most important part. Whatever you are trying to say, the introduction, it keeps with the audience for a very long time. It still, it gets stuck in their mind. So the beginning and the end needs to be super, 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 super powerful. It is this part which decides the impact of the speech. Do not give a separate title for the speech. If you already have one which is given to you, stick to that. Keep in mind, as already stated, the occasion of the speech and the nature of the audience. You should keep in mind uh, who all are there as the audience and where are you speaking. Like, what is the platform you are supposed to use, right? The introduction should not be very lengthy. The introduction, like you are addressing everybody, or the introductory paragraph also, it need not to be very lengthy. The main topic should be taken up as quickly as possible. You should not beat around the bush, right? Pick up to the main topic ASAP. As soon as possible, try to come to the main point. Use concrete terms and tangible examples. Like, you should use certain examples. You should use those sort of, ideas which are being popular amongst all of us. For example, if I was giving you an example of, writing about present scenarios media, so you can pick up how they are ignoring the important ideas, like how they are simply ignoring about GDP of the nation, how they are simply ignoring the most important happenings of the nation, and they are simply they are talking about um, vague ideas. We are not supposed to do that, right? So you need to give them the ideas, the thought process which are going to help them, which with which they can connect. Avoid abstract phrases which are quite vague. You don't need to go all abstract, right? Don't need to do that. Use simple and familiar language because you're speaking to the larger audience. The language needs to be simple so that they feel connected with it. The conclusion plays a very important role in the success of a speech. So again, as I've already told you, the introductory part needs to be strong. In the similar way, the conclusion also needs to be. It's very important, and it changed the mindset of the listener to do work on the introduction and on the conclusion. Give your own conclusion on the topic in a telling manner. So it needs to be conversational, right? So you can simply give up your own subjective outlook to the topic also. The marking scheme is same as the article, so you will going to get out of 10 you will be scored with speech also. Write thank you at the end of your speech, right? So that was all about article writing and speech writing. I hope you got certain tips, and I hope you will going to follow them also, right? So as I was telling you, you need to enroll yourself with Unacademy, right? And you can use my code AMBIKA, right? And with that, you're going to get a great discount. So go for it, guys. And please do take care of yourself and of your family. With this, I'm signing.